Growing Up on a Farm in Kentucky. Stories by Stan Schmidt. Episode 3, Cigar Club.
I liked to smoke the Swisher Sweets. We had a cigar club. It was on at least 3 or 4 different farms. On our farm, we built a shack out of old wood my dad had used and thrown away, and put a little stove in there, and we would get together and we would all smoke cigars and light. If it was in the winter, we'd have a little fire, and it was like an old barrel that we put a stovepipe in, and then we hung burlap sacks on the walls to keep the wind from blowing between the boards, and we'd sit in there and smoke cigars and tell stories. Whoever could tell the biggest lie.
How old were you then?
That was probably the beginning of high school. And one winter, the fire in the stove was a square hole in the barrel and a round pipe, and flames were shooting out the stove and jumping up the burlap sacks, and we were all laughing at it because it would go out. It just burned the fuzz off the burlap sacks. But then all of a sudden, before you knew it, the whole wall was on fire. So my brother, being the big, wiser, older brother, said, "Run down to the creek and get a bucket of water. Hurry up!" And he didn't want to do it, so I did. And we doused it. We had to replace a couple of boards in the shack, but then we had other places that we went for smoking cigars, like other people's farms where there were tree houses, and one person had built a kind of a little hut inside a hay barn, which was really dangerous for smoking cigars. I can't remember whether we smoked them in there or just out in the back of the shed. But anyways, we never started any fires after that one. But you learn about fires pretty quickly when you have to put one out. You learn how dangerous things are when you're just allowed to go ahead and do it yourself and then feel guilty about it and maybe read something about fire. I think that was the greatest lesson growing up on a farm, is that you had enough freedom enough things to experiment with, that you learned a lot of stuff that other people never get a chance to learn.
Were fires a big problem on the farms for your neighbors?
It was a big problem that and tornadoes. Tornadoes would rip the roofs off of barns or totally destroy barns, and fires, people's barns would burn down. My dad always worried about that, but he never bought any insurance. And he always thought, he always warned us whenever we went to the barn never to take matches there. So ours was just up on a hill, and it was right out in the open. The hut we built, we called it a hut, which is just a little room. So when it caught on fire, it really didn't pose any danger. So I thought that was a pretty good lesson.